This episode is brought to you by Hasa. Pool Pros. Are you using the new Hasa Pro Rewards app? Earn points on Hasa and random purchases, redeem them for gift cards and product rewards. Download the free Hasa Pro Rewards app today and get rewarded. By the Bottom Feeder. With their new cartridge filter assembly, now you can vacuum dirt in a pool down to 10 microns. Don't just vacuum the pool, finish it.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. I think a lot of people overanalyze and overdo their business math when it's actually a very simple thing. I'm going to go over some ways to increase your income and maybe reduce some expenses and some really simple math formulas for your pool service business. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. Pool service is a very interesting sector, and as far as service goes, the only one that's pretty comparable is gardening service, landscaping, gardening, and possibly house cleaning services, where there are some reoccurring service accounts every week or every month, depending on the business you're in. Other service businesses don't have that luxury. Plumbers, electricians, they may have a few maintenance accounts that they service often. Pest control, I would probably put in that category to some extent, but they probably get a lot of people calling them for one-time service versus rather monthly service or weekly service in their business. So we have a unique sector in the service industry. It's even different than retail. You know, if you have a burger place and you want more revenue, you have to advertise and try to get more customers to come in the door. So it's a whole different dynamic. And I must say that pool service is, for good and bad, is an easier mathematical business than the other ones. What I mean by good and bad is that it can be a really positive. It can also be a negative factor. But of course, I'll stay positive here because I'm talking about increasing income in your business. And the easiest way to increase income, and it's pretty obvious, and it's not raising prices across the board, although I'll address that in a moment. The easiest way to increase the revenue in your pool service business is to get more service accounts. It's not rocket science, and it's very mathematically sound, and it's something that I mentioned it will affect you negatively if you start losing accounts. That's the big thing about pool service, but it'll affect you much more positively when you start to get more accounts. I'm just going to use a simple number here throughout the podcast. I'm going to use 180 as my baseline. Now, you may charge more, you may charge a little bit less for your service, but 180 is a pretty good baseline. And let's say you have 70 accounts at $180, and this is really simple math. You could do this yourself and follow along. That's $12,600 a month, and if you times that by 12, that means you're making $151,200 a year off those service accounts at $180 a piece. Now, this is your total income. I'm not talking about any expenses yet or any minuses, so that's pretty good. 70 times 180. Now, if you just add 5 more accounts to that, so now you're doing 75 times 180, and okay, we got 2 million. I think I forgot to reset the calculator. You would like to get that much, but 75 times 180, that's 13,500 times 12, and that's 162,000. So you added about 10,000 more to your pool route just by adding 5 more pools a month. Now, of course, I'm simplifying things, and adding 5 pools may be difficult in the area. It may take some time to do that. You may lose an account here and there, so it may not happen instantly, but over a course of a few months, you can certainly scrape together 5 more accounts by advertising, door hangers, asking people for referrals, and it does happen. You do build gradually if you are wanting to build. An easy way to build accounts is to mark your truck somehow. Like if you don't have a full truck wrap, which a lot of companies don't have, you can get magnets for the doors and advertise your business there. You can, do Google ads. You can do it all different kinds of ways to advertise it. So it may make sense to spend $1,000 a month to advertise to get those 5 accounts, and just subtract that from the total. So it took you 3 months to get the 5 accounts. Take $3,000 away from that when you're doing your net sheet, and you're in a better position still. You're plus still. So that's the easiest way to increase your revenue. You have to do more work, of course, because you've increased 1 extra pool per day. So, if you do 70 divided by, let's just say you work 4 days a week, just to keep it simple, that's about 17 accounts. And now you're doing 18 accounts or so. It doesn't break down actually even across the 4 days. Let me try it against 5 days. That's 14 accounts per day if you have a 5-day pool route. So you have 15 accounts per day now. So it's not going to kill you to do 1 extra pool, and you increase your income by $10,000 a year. Gross income I'm talking here. Now you can achieve something very similar by raising your prices. And I always feel like you want to have justification for raising your prices, and sometimes the economy does justify it. Fuel costs are up, of course. Chemical costs are always pretty high on the list of reasons to increase your prices. But I'll just go back to the simple math. If you have 70 accounts and you raise it by $10 a month, that's $700 more a month. 700 times 12, and that's $8,400 a month, a year, I should say, more. $700, $8,400, just by a $10 raise across those 70 accounts. And you haven't added any more work to your load. You just went from 180 to 190 a month, and you've increased your revenue by $8,400 that year. Now, what if you happen to do both? Now, this is something, again, it's simple math, but it's getting a little more complicated, because if you raise your price on 70 accounts and 2 or 3 drop, you have to factor that into the equation. That's a negative loss. But then if you add 5 pools at 190, so you lose 3, so you're at 167. You're at 67 pools, I should say. Getting the math mixed up here. You're at 67 pools, but then you add 8 more because you lost 3. And so now you have 75 pools at 190. That's 14,250 times 12. That's 171,000. So you've pretty much added 20,000 to your bottom line in the coming up year by raising your prices and adding 5 more pools. So I would say logically, it does make sense sometimes, in conjunction to getting new accounts, to also increasing the price on all the service accounts across the board when you get those new accounts. Now, a lot of times you have pools at varying prices on your route. You may have some older accounts at a lower price. Let's say you have 5 pools at 140, you have some pools at 160. This does happen out there, where there's a variety of different prices when you acquire them. Raising the prices gradually takes time, and so you may have some really low pools on your route. I would say it does make mathematical sense to sometimes let go of someone at 140, let's say, if you can get an account at 180 or 190 to replace it with. Mathematically, let's just say you get it for 180, 40 times 12, that's a swing of $480 a year, which is quite a lot of money, and it does add up over time. So sometimes it does make sense to, drop Mr. Jones, who you had for 8 years, and they're barely creeping up to 140 a month. There's some math there, but if you, of course, like the account, then math is not always all there is to the equation. And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description. Now, there's some math on the other end that also will help you as well, and this is kind of savings on some of the expenses. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot when you save $10 here or $5 here, but if you really do the math correctly, a $10 savings can be substantial. I'll put it this way. Let's say that you buy your trichlor tablets for the customers at March, and there's a sale, and you're going to save $10 per bucket that you're going to get, and you're going to buy 60 buckets. So 10 times 60 is $600. That may not seem like a lot of savings, but if you add that in with other savings, and let's say you've been able to shave off some money here and there and other things, and also maybe cut down on some other costs in your business, and altogether you've taken that $600 a month plus $50 for something here, $100 for something there, and let's just say that you've gotten that $10 off each tablet and other things, and it adds up to about $250 a month. If you times that by 12, that's $3,000. And so not only have you increased by adding 5 accounts, you've also taken $3,000 off the bottom line. I'm not talking about making cuts that will affect your business, but there is fat there that you can remove from your business to save a little bit of money. $250 a month is not a huge amount of money, but as a multiplier over the course of a year, it does add up to a lot of money, and it does really move the needle, because when you're subtracting the extra profit from your liabilities, which is your cost, $3,000 is a pretty huge amount of money. You can do a lot with that money for sure. You can buy 2 bottom feeders basically, or you can whatever you want to do with that money. Another thing that really affects the bottom line is you remember that $3,000 number I have there. So here's another thing that affects a lot of businesses. When you forget to bill customers for things, I've been guilty of actually forgetting to bill a customer for like a new motor install, like a huge amount of money. And, they messaged me like 2 months later. It's like, hey, are you going to ever bill me for this thing? And so those big things, of course, are pretty big, but little things, automatic cleaner parts, pump baskets, O-rings, tank O-rings when you do a filter cleaning, all of these do add up. And let's just say that, I'll keep it simple. Let's say $150 of parts are falling through the crack every month on your pool route. You're just not tightening things up, billing customers for everything. Sometimes you're putting on this part and you feel like you just should give it to the customer at that point. So of course, 150 times 12 is 1,800. Add that to the 3,000 and you're almost at $5,000 for the whole year, and missing money, revenue from parts you're putting on and not recording or billing the customer. And for some costs you can save on buying bulk, like if you buy a pallet of trichlor tablets, you put money out, but you save money at the same time on the other end of it, because really having cash in the bank, it's good to have an emergency fund, of course, but having cash in the bank doesn't really serve you. What serves you is getting discounts all year round to save money. At the end of the year, when you're doing your accounting, you're going to see a pretty good savings by working the other end of things. And you really don't need really fancy accounting programs. I mentioned this a lot. I go onto Etsy. It's a craft site, but they actually have really good spreadsheets there. And you could buy a really good business profit and loss spreadsheet there. I don't recommend just using, Excel or Google Sheets. So just go over to Etsy.com and type in profit and loss, and you'll find something that you're going to really like. So I would utilize that tool and then plug in the numbers. This is what takes the longest to do, is putting in the numbers if you haven't done it yet. So you'll have to spend a Saturday afternoon plugging in all the numbers, plugging in all the accounts into this spreadsheet. It's well worth it to do this. And then, of course, you have to update the sheet ever so often. it's always good to have a profit and loss sheet that you can refer to, because honestly, you have to know if you're making a profit or if you're losing somewhere on this sheet. And I've also mentioned this, and I can't patent this or trademark this, but it's the 1-for-1 rule. And I use that term, and people have used that term as well. I'm probably not the originator of it, but the 1-for-1 rule is simply when you get a new account that's really good and you have an account that's not so good, maybe it's on, it's a, heavy debris pool, or it's far away from your other pools. The 1-for-1 rule basically is when you get this one account, you're at 70 pools, you get this one account, you have one that's no good, you can drop that bad one and you're no worse off, you're actually better off, and you haven't moved any of your income, but you have actually freed up some time and mental anguish is going to be reduced out there. And then this 1-for-1 rule can be used as you build to 75. So you get two accounts, you got 72, you see one that you have one on your list that you don't like, drop that one, you're at 71, then you get to 73, then you drop another account that maybe is 15 minutes out of the way, then you're at 72 again, then you add two more, you're at 74, you see where this is going. You can eventually get to 75 accounts by dropping 5 also that you don't like, and so you would normally be at 80, but since you let those 5 go that were kind of low hanging, you're still at 75, which was your goal, and you have a much better pool route at that point. This takes time. I'm speeding things up here. It's not an instant thing, but this could be over the course of a year or a season. But this can be done if you actually do it, and that's the biggest thing. Implementing something is the step that a lot of people miss. They'll hear this, and then they won't do it. But if you do it, and you see the numbers that I gave you earlier, where you can pretty much increase the revenue of your business by close to $20,000 a year by raising prices really minimally across the board and adding 5 new service accounts. So it can be done, and you've just added almost 20,000 more. Well, actually, over 20,000 if you cut the fat and the other end of things. And it's a really easy thing to do if you really put your mind to it and actually do it. Looking for other podcasts, you can find those on my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. On the banner, there's a podcast icon. Click on that. There'll be a drop-down menu of close to 2,000 podcasts for you to listen to there. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.